more of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Welcome back in on a Wednesday. Time right now in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios, 4:15 straight up. This is the Zach Gelb Show. 609-919-9200 is the telephone number to get on board. Matt Lombardo does a great job covering the EAGL ES Eagles for NJ.com, and we continue to react to the aftermath of the Josh Huff arrest. That Matt was at the Doug Peterson press conference today and also at the Eagles complex for most of his day, and he's on the way home right now, and Matt joins us right now. Matt, appreciate a few minutes, and how are you?
Zach, always a pleasure to come on your show. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. So the big decision today that the Eagles had to make, would they stick it out with the due process, or would they have some type of punishment or even a release of one Josh Huff? You know that the Eagles are going to continue to just go with the status quo until they receive more information. Do you believe that's the right decision?
Yeah, Zach, that was kind of perplexing because everybody now knows, because the police report was obtained by NJ.com, the details of the arrest. Everybody knows Josh Huff was speeding over the Walt Whitman Bridge, which is the least of his issues. Anytime that you have the marijuana, you have the loaded weapon without a permit to conceal and carry, which is, as you know, illegal in the state of New Jersey, and then on top of that, 6 hollow point bullets, you're dealing with a fairly significant legal situation here. And, Zach, I find it very interesting that the Eagles continue to take this laissez-faire approach when it comes to discipline and punishment for players that find themselves in trouble. It's one thing with the Nigel Bradham pair of incidents. It's another to take the wait-and-see approach on the suspension of Lane Johnson and all of those things. But it's coming time now with all of these issues that have taken place so early on in the Doug Peterson era that at some point you might need to make an example out of somebody just to send a message to the rest of the locker room that this is the kind of conduct this organization will not tolerate. And I have the sense, just from my understanding of what went down with Josh Huff, that this would be the type of situation that would merit that kind of reaction. And I think that the fans would welcome that. I think the rest of the locker room would take it kind of as a statement of this organization is not going to tolerate the kind of things that Josh Huff did.
And it makes the coach look like a doormat, and it makes it look like his players don't respect him because, you know, with the Nigel Bradham situation, Doug said to the team before the bye, make the right decisions, and now you have this case with Josh Huff. I just don't understand the purpose of not making some type of decision here and making some kind of point, because it's not like Josh Huff is this world changer on offense. He only has 13 receptions on the year. He's not good.
72 yards receiving and 1 touchdown, Zach, and if the excuse is that he is a punt returner and a kick returner, the Eagles have Wendell Smallwood. The Eagles have a kid named Bryce Treggs who has all of the speed in the world. The Eagles have Darren Sproles, so they have options to replace Josh Huff. This seems to be more of a coaching philosophy or a philosophy from higher up in the organization that they're going to let the league hand out the discipline. And as I spoke to one player yesterday when all of this was going down, he told me that hopefully Josh Huff learns from this, because even on a first offense, when it comes to marijuana, when it comes to a weapon possession charge, the NFL doesn't play around with these sort of allegations and these sort of incidents. So whether it's the Eagles that ultimately dole out the punishment or the NFL acts swiftly in a couple of weeks, I do believe that there will be some form of discipline towards Josh Huff. I'm just a little bit surprised that with everything that we know now, that the Eagles did not act quickly and swiftly given everything else that's happened so far this year.
What is it going to take for the Eagles to discipline a player?
Yeah, Zach, I don't have the answer to that, because you would think this would do it, right? You would think this would do it where you're carrying a gun across state lines, you don't have the permit to conceal and carry, and you're carrying hollow point bullets that are designed to mutilate, maim, and kill. So, in my opinion, this should carry enough weight to merit some sort of discipline. But so far, it seems as though Doug Peterson wants to stay out of that fray.
How did you think Peterson handled the media today?
I think that we did the best we could to get the answers out of him, Zach. I think that we pressured him on all of the pertinent questions. And my sense of this is that I don't have a firm grasp on whose call it would be to actually pull the trigger on some sort of discipline. We know that Doug Peterson does not have control over the construction of the 53-man roster. That falls on Howie Roseman. We do not know whether or not, because Doug took the approach today of wanting to be a father figure to his players and give some tough love. But any father figure, and I don't know about your father, but I know my father, that if I were in possession of marijuana, a weapon, and hollow point bullets, there'd be a little bit more than hugging and tough love going on. So my sense is that while it seems to be Doug Peterson's modus operandi, Zach, to not discipline and not suspend his players, I don't have a firm grasp that this is 100% his call.
I would be told to get out of the house as Matt Lombardo joins us right now, NJ.com Eagles insider. Matt, you heard what Josh Huff had to say today. You've seen some of the quotes by now. What was your reaction on what Josh Huff had to say?
Oh, boy. To hear him say that every professional athlete holds a gun, there's a little bit of sticker shock there.
Stupid.
But I just kind of took a cursory walk around the locker room, and most guys in that locker room said that that's the sort of thing they would expect to hear. Said that they own multiple guns. And I think that, there have been enough of these type of incidents, whether it's Plaxico Burress and the gun actually discharging in New York, whether it's other issues with athletes and firearms. I think it's now fairly well known that athletes carry guns, they carry firearms, and they do it for protection. But what was really interesting is that when Josh Huff was asked about the hollow point bullets, again, he said he felt like he needed those because he needed to protect himself, which I just have a very difficult time understanding why you need to go to those extremes and those means, knowing that those particular bullets are illegal in every state bordering the state of Pennsylvania. So there was a little bit alarming, but it also kind of was par for the course simultaneously with what I think a lot of people have now come to know about athlete culture. These guys just, Zach, they live and operate in a different world than you and I.
Matt, and I know that Doug Peterson isn't the one that gets to have the last word on this, but I wonder if he did have the last word, what the decision would be, because when I was listening to his press conference today, he didn't have an explanation why Josh Huff did have a gun. Now, he did say that he has a gun himself, but those are for hunting and sport purposes. I just don't believe that the coach actually supports Josh Huff in this one, from what I heard today in the press conference.
And I think that you might be onto something there, Zach, and it just goes back to just how much power and just how much control does Doug Peterson actually possess within this organization. And I think that the decision to, if the punishment were something as extreme as releasing Josh Huff, I think that sort of a decision would need to come from Howie Roseman. And I think that much like what happened, and you hate to draw a comparison to such a wildly different situation, but going back to Riley Cooper, when the team effectively sent him home for the weekend in Florida after the incident at the country music concert where he used a racial slur, you get the sense that the decision to punish, suspend, or bench would have to come from a Jeffrey Lurie or a Howie Roseman in concert with Doug Peterson. But I don't think that this is Peterson's call to make. At least I don't believe that it is.
Wrapping up with Matt Lombardo, who joins us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Paul Turner and Bryce Treggs, how far away are we going to be from seeing one of the two of those guys?
Yeah, Zach, I wrote about this afternoon. I get the sense from talking to Carson Wentz, from talking to Bryce Treggs, from doing a little bit of digging on my own, that I think we might be seeing Bryce Treggs as early as this weekend. And Treggs turned in a really nice play in the early part of practice that reporters are allowed to watch, where he just made a very nice over-the-shoulder throw along the sideline, toe-dragging both feet inbounds while making the catch running at full speed, a very athletic catch. And he made another one tracking the ball very nicely on a deep ball from Carson Wentz. Wentz opened up and gushed about Bryce Treggs' speed in his press conference today. So whether it's because the Eagles indeed plan on benching or disciplining Josh Huff, or because they just feel the need to try something new, which they should at the wide receiver position, I do get the sense that we might be seeing Bryce Treggs as early as this weekend against the Giants.
It'd be interesting to see who they do make inactive because of that, and it possibly could be someone that isn't a wide receiver, although you would think if they're adding a wide receiver, they would make a wide receiver inactive. Let me ask you about Nelson Aguilar. I know he apologized today for his comments, but what was he thinking? Is this guy that dumb?
Zach, if nothing else, is tone deaf, because those comments after the game about drops just being part of a game and not wanting to hear about it, that had the potential to be this generation's for who, for what, as Ricky Waters said after alligator arming a ball over the middle in the opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers way back in 1995. Those were tone-deaf comments. Those were comments obviously said in frustration after the game. But the bottom line is, Zach, that Nelson Aguilar needs to be better. You look at that game as a whole. It's not just about the drop in the red zone. It's not just about the missed block. It's not just about not checking himself back in bounds after stepping out of bounds, leading to an incompletion deep in the red zone. It's all of those things put together. It's the inability to live up to the potential of being a first-round pick, and then to sound off about it after the game. It just sounded like he just does not get it and does not grasp how far away he is from living up to that potential of being chosen in the first round.
Final one here for you as Matt Lombardo joins us. Keys to the Eagles getting a victory over the Giants this weekend.
Well, I think, Zach, they're going to need to, of course, limit Odell Beckham Jr. You can't forget about Sterling Shepard. But I go back to what made the Eagles so successful during the first 3 games of the season, and that was a well-balanced offensive attack that chews up the clock. When you look at how the Eagles started 3-0, they had the best time of possession differential in the NFL with holding the ball over 35 minutes per game. They also had a very well-balanced running attack, only calling 6 more passing plays than they called running plays in those first 3 weeks. Over the last 3 weeks, they've struggled to win the time of possession battle. They've struggled to have that balanced attack. They've struggled to run the ball. So they need to get a lead early, have a balanced attack, and I think that they'll have a chance to win this game.
Matt, my Springsteen brethren, Lombardo, appreciate the time today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Zach.
There's Matt Lombardo joining us from NJ.com, Eagles Insider, and also a big Bruce Springsteen fan. We were at both of those shows in Philadelphia. A whole lot of fun seeing the boss. But that's what you have with Josh Huff. It was a very stupid decision on his part. And it wasn't only one decision. You look at everything: unlawful possession of a weapon, 6 hollow point bullets, speeding, obstructed view because of tinted windows, DUI, and having less than 50 grams of marijuana. This is someone that is not intelligent. And you could own a gun for protection. How much protection do you need? I understand if you're going out, you're coming from your job and then going back home probably. I just don't understand it. Maybe it's because I didn't grow up in that culture, and maybe some people are saying, oh, you're ignorant to that. I don't understand it. And now it puts the Eagles in a tough spot, and it also puts Josh Huff in a really bad spot. Because take away for a second the fact that the Eagles did not suspend him, or they didn't cut him today. This is someone that is facing jail time. Like I said earlier in the show, I was watching Comcast Sportsnet this morning. They had an attorney on, and they said, what are the chances this guy's going to get off? And that attorney said less than 50%. So things aren't good for one Josh Huff. Now, I want to play you some of the quotes from Doug Peterson's press conference today, because some of them were awkward, and then some of the things he gave some good answers to the questions that were being asked by the loyal and faithful media of Philadelphia, as you knew they were going to eat this stuff up today, as they should. So let's first get to Doug's reaction about Josh Huff and the arrest.
Obviously disappointed. It's not what you want on a player day off to see happen. He and I spoke about it privately, and it's one of the things I talk about all the time with players. You just try to eliminate distractions and take care of your business outside of the building. And he understands, and we just got to, obviously it's out of our hands at this point. We just got to see where it goes.
So there you go. That's the approach the Eagles take, like we've been saying all show. Due process, it's out of their hands. A lot of us from one Doug Peterson. A little nervous today. You could sense it in his voice, because he knows once again one of his players disappointed not only him, but the entire organization. And just like Nigel Bradham, leading up before a big game, it becomes another story. Now, I thought one of the best questions asked in the press conference today was from one Zach Berman of the Philadelphia Inquirer. And Zach Berman, because you kept on hearing, well, we need more information. And I'm thinking to myself, well, just look at all the information you already have. I'll list them again. Unlawful possession of a weapon, 6 hollow point bullets, DUI, speeding, less than 50 grams of marijuana, and obstructed view because of tinted windows. This is not like someone was at a club and it's a he said, she said type of thing. This is just Josh Huff in his car. And there's a police report out there. So Zach Berman did ask about, well, what other info do you need? And here's the exchange between Doug Peterson and Zach Berman.
I just need to hear officially, through an investigation what took place and what happened.
So the police report's not enough there.
I want to just get all the. I want to see exactly what happened and maybe talk to some people and find out.
What more do you need to find out? The police report is very clear. Josh Huff is guilty. In the public court of opinion, he's guilty. And if his lawyer finds a way to be smart and get him off somehow, God bless him. But he's guilty. I can make that adjustment and that assessment right now. Because you see everything that happened to him. This is stupid. This is moronic. This is really dumb, and it's bad decision making. There's no purpose of keeping this person on your football team. What does he do? The best thing he does is in the kick return game. That's an expendable player. That's someone you could get rid of. There's other players on this roster that could run back a kick. It's not only Josh Huff. He only has 72 yards on the season from a receiving standpoint. This is not a special player. And then another thing from Doug Peterson's press conference before we get into the awkward stuff, and this was a big question, and credit, I believe it was Derek Gunn, D. Gunn, who asked this. Does he have control? What would someone say if they asked, does Doug Peterson have control of this football team? Here it is.
I would say that I do. Again, I can't control what you do outside of the. Once you leave here, I don't know what you're going to do. Now, I'm not responsible for you, but I can't control what you do once you leave these premises. Neither can the Philadelphia Eagles control what I do once I leave these premises. I just know who I am as a person, and I try to relay that to the team and just let them know that, hey, guys, you have to, the spotlight is on us. In this city, in this market, the spotlight is on everything we do.
That's a good answer by Peterson, because clearly he's not going to come out and say, oh, yeah, I have no control of this team. That's not going to be the case, because down deep he probably doesn't think that. And down deep, I don't think that Doug Peterson doesn't have control. But the optics of this, from an outsider, it looks like he doesn't have the control. Because you've seen multiple incidents before. This is not just one isolated incident. Josh Huff, gun. Nigel Bradham, gun. Nigel Bradham, Cabana Boy. To an outsider, it makes it look like, from the optics, that he doesn't have control. And everything in Philadelphia is going to be well documented. In these Northeast big cities, New York, Boston, when a player screws up, they're going to have to face the music. And this isn't just something you can put a Band-Aid over. This is something that Josh Huff could be going to jail for a very long time, because they don't mess around in New Jersey when it comes to the gun laws. Now, let's lighten this up a little bit, because there were some awkward quotes from Doug Peterson in this press conference. A reporter asked about guidelines in these types of situations. Doug Peterson didn't use the best expression when talking about the guidelines. Here they are, and he knew he couldn't get around this word. You will hear the awkward silence, and then he eventually said it, and another word popped into his mind.
Well, it's hard to put a
Here it is.
a bullet point, sort of a checklist of what they do.
There you go. He goes, bullet point. Oh, the word I'm looking for. Oh, thing goes off in his head. Yeah, checklist. That's what he should have said. You knew he had bullet point right in his head. He was thinking to himself, all right, bullet point, that's the word I'm going to say because that's, it's not something you can list out. And then he said bullet point and he goes, it's not a good decision. And then finally, someone asked about the Giants on offense, and he used the word weapon. Not the best day to use the word weapon.
Well, obviously they got some weapons, skill position. Odell Beckham and Shepard and Cruz. I mean, these guys are dynamic receivers.
Once again, he says weapon, and listen how quickly he tries to use another word. Just one more time.
Well, obviously they got some weapons, skill position.
Right there. Weapons, skill positions, I mean. just awkward stuff. The last two, it's not the end of the world, but I just found it a little bit comical when I was listening to the press conference today earlier this morning as Josh Huff, if you're just tuning in, practiced today, did speak to the media today. Doug Peterson spoke to the media, and all the intentions are that Josh Huff will not be disciplined yet by the Philadelphia Eagles, and he will play on Sunday. I don't think it's the right decision. You could use Josh Huff as someone, and it's a double standard, but because you didn't do it with Nigel Bradham, send a message. He's just not worth the headache that he's causing the Philadelphia Eagles right now. And I believe the Eagles dropped the ball today. We're not talking about dropping the ball on Sunday. They dropped the ball on Wednesday because they did not handle this situation the right way.